guys, it's Megan Sullivan. Welcome back to my channel. So, by now I'm sure most of you have heard the giant news, and you might want to sit down if you haven't, because this is a big one, that Microsoft has bought Activision Blizzard for, get this, $70 billion with a B dollars in cash. Who has that kind of money lying around? Microsoft, I guess. It's just, I can't even with that number. At any rate, this is huge news in the games industry, and we, the consumers and the players, are going to be the most affected. And honestly, I want to know what you guys thought of this huge acquisition. Do you think it's good? Do you think it's bad? There are no wrong answers. There are no right answers. There are only answers. I will tell you my opinion at the very end of the video, but what I did is I actually went to Twitter, there you go, and I asked you guys how you felt about this acquisition, and I got some fantastic, thoughtful responses, and I wanted to read them here with your guys' permission. No one seemed to object to it. I'm not going to use people's real handle or name, though, for privacy purposes, but these are real answers from you guys, and if you have an opinion, make sure to leave it in the comment section below. So, we'll start with Ruby. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, I'm sorry, but they said, this is bad, really bad for the industry. Competition breeds uniqueness and diversity. Everything being owned by one megacorporation never ends well, especially for the studios it acquires. Aldrich says, it feels like too much. People keep making the excuse that Sony does the same thing. Buying of a publisher like this shouldn't be tied to any of the big console manufacturers. Consolidation is not a good thing for gamers. Chopstick says, as a consumer, it seems very exciting. I own a PC and a PlayStation 5, so I'm excited for whatever is to be released on Game Pass for PC. At the end of the day, most exclusives are just timed exclusives anyways, well, nowadays. Alex says, at the moment, I'm just wondering how much and when will Microsoft raise the Game Pass price. The monopoly thing is also a concern since Activision is a huge company. Sony seems to buy smaller studios they work with, which is also a concern. Jason B writes, I think this is Microsoft cutting off competition from Tencent, Apple, Google/Alphabet, Facebook/Meta, and Amazon as much or more as it is with Sony. I wouldn't be surprised if something smaller like Sega is still on the table for this year. Jonathan says, these kinds of acquisitions are ultimately very bad for the industry, but I think this is good for the environment at Activision Blizzard, so I'm torn here. Magical M writes, I don't know. Video games are the top-grossing entertainment product in the world. Microsoft wants to stay in the business. I honestly don't believe they care about exclusives. I don't think any of their new studio acquisitions have even released a game. John B writes, probably ends up like the TV, movie space, and streaming services. I don't think we see all owned by a few. Disney pushed the bar on what can be allowed from monopoly and anti-competition, and Microsoft is doing the same. Noah says, it's scary to be honest. I do think there are conversations being held in a Sony boardroom right now if they can swing a purchase of Square, as in Square Enix. I don't know where it ends either. Weird times. Nate says, it's always been this way in the console space. If you can't afford multiple systems, each one has plenty of bangers every year. But hate the system, not the players. Capitalism has no room for morals of any sort. Solo here says, I think you're right. Tencent and Sony will start acquiring more stuff, and then Microsoft will respond in kind. And I think that's bad. Every other time we've seen mass consolidation, it hasn't been good for anyone but executives. See the music or airline industries. Mikey says, I think eventually we are just going to have one console that everyone develops for. Kind of like what Trip Hawkins wanted for 3DO to be. Chris V says, it's bad for the industry, and it definitely feels like Microsoft is trying to force monopoly. Zion says, anything that further erodes the separation between content and the delivery systems is bad for gamers/consumers in the long run. Doug says, I honestly am happy for this. Just hope Microsoft uses the IPs and brings them to Xbox and not having them sit. I personally enjoy having a reason to buy one console. Also, the Sony buying Square thing seems like it was gonna happen anyway. Nico says, bad for the industry. Chris says, I think it's bad. I own all the systems, so this isn't a fanboy knee-jerk reaction. All Elite says, I'm just glad I'm never ever going to have to pay $70 for a Call of Duty game, cause it'll be on Game Pass. And finally, Roger says, like all the jokes said, Microsoft/Xbox said, I can fix him, and now they'll have to, as they just acquired all of Activision's damnations. On the PlayStation side, as usual, they'll go with what is organic. Capcom, because Sony owns Evo, or merge and become Sony Square Enix. So that's just some of the opinions I've been getting. Keep them up in the comments below as well. Be civil, be nice. I'd love to know your guys' opinion. As for me, I'm not sure. I'm very wary of this. I don't know enough about antitrust laws or monopolies to sort of weigh in on that side of things, but I can tell you as a consumer, I'm a little nervous just because if everything is in one ecosystem, it's convenient, right? And Game Pass has an even bigger library, right? Like that's good news, it seems, in the short run, but in the long run, I'm wondering what will happen if Game Pass starts to slowly tick up in price, right? Or without stiff competition, is Microsoft going to sort of rest on its laurels, right? I mean, as someone actually said in my Twitter feed, it's kind of like when the WWE acquired all the different wrestling territories and they were the only game in town, and it felt like it affected the quality of the product overall because they didn't have to put their best foot forward. Now that AEW is out there and New Japan is more accessible and people can get some of these smaller indie territories, you know, on streaming or pay-per-view, it forces the WWE to really step up its game. So I don't know, we'll see. I'm a little nervous about it. I don't even know if it's going to stick, this acquisition, but you know, if Microsoft wants to throw $70 billion of cash my way, that would be great. What do you guys think? I really want to hear your opinions on this. I think you guys have really thoughtful, interesting things to say about it. And with that, I'll see you later. Bye.